Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so the rumors are out. The rumors are hitting the field. The rumors are everywhere. LeBron James. I guess the word is that Kyrie came to LA to, you know, ask LeBron James if he would be willing to join him in Dallas. Join the Dallas Mavericks Big Three, him and Kyrie and Luka the Don. It's worth a shot if I'm Kyrie. The salary match is laughable. There's nothing Dallas would ever be able to pry the Lakers away from LeBron James, but they don't have anything that would make us want to do a deal like that. In my humble opinion, try to make the salary match. It's Maxi Kleber, Davis Bertans, and Tim Hardaway Jr. Like that's the best way to probably get that done. Throw in all the picks they got for the next 15 years or something. That's the only way they'd be able to pull that off. We'd have to flip all that nonsense to a third team, probably get us something we'd actually want. Uh, so Dallas doesn't have the package, man. They don't have the package to even make us look at them in the right direction in regards to pulling off something like that. They don't have it. So I don't know. For me, this is one of them situations where I'm trying to think if I really want to say this on camera because I don't know these people. You know what I mean? So I'm just speculating. But it seemed to me that the Lakers were in a little bit of trouble when Phil Handy picked up Kyrie Irving from the airport. And that's what happened, I think maybe 2 days ago. And my thing is, it's two different sides to think about this. If I'm Kyrie Irving and Phil Handy, I'm not trying to stay away from my friend in the off season. If my friend wants to get picked up from the airport, he's coming to LA. I'm in LA, that's my boy. I'm gonna get him, and that's as simple as it should be. But when you're in the NBA, they got something called tampering. They got various different things that have to do with teams not talking to other teams and representatives not talking to other players, rather about players, stuff like that. And so when you feel handy, you know that. You know what I'm saying? If you're Kyrie Irving, you know that. And if you're the Lakers, you know that. And it's just one of those situations where it's like, we playing with fire. That's what I said when I saw that photo. I'm like, I personally, as a fan, don't have a problem with friends picking each other up from the airport in the off season. But when one dude is an assistant coach for one team and the other dude's a free agent who's been rumored to want to go to this team, and that the field itself basically trying to do everything it can to keep Kyrie from the Lakers, it seems to me that you don't toy with that image. You don't allow yourself to be seen picking up Kyrie from the airport. And Kyrie is is probably best to not ask you to do so. You know what I mean? Because it's LA and TMZ gonna get pictures of everything at the airport. And so this just seemed like it was done on purpose, but it seemed like when you do stuff like this on purpose, you're welcoming the worst consequences. So this looked like, to me, them trying to say something else other than the Lakers are tampering. That's what this looked like. But in the same breath, it looks like he's essentially saying that the Mavericks are tampering. So I just don't know why this is happening. And I just kind of get frustrated when I see stuff like this, because I really don't know why Kyrie would want to be seen this way when he has so much coming at him already. You know what I mean? When you got so many people already trying to take from you, monetarily, they're trying to push your image to a space where we're not focused on basketball. It can't be you that does the stuff, you know what I mean, that other people would do when they don't have that attached to them. You know what I mean? If anything, you want to play nice or good boy so they can kind of give you the leverage that they're otherwise trying to keep from you. So I think certain people just don't really want to acknowledge what's up against them. Sometimes it's like they're not going to play into the hands of what best supports their side. And I just feel like that's kind of what this looks like to me. And I've kind of felt Kyrie has done that throughout the course of his career, where people are mad at him and he kind of just pours a little more on. And I just don't think that helps. And I think that's the difference between myself and maybe a guy like Kyrie, to where I might challenge the establishment, but I'm not looking to rub it in unnecessarily, because I still want to be able to maneuver. So I'm going to choose my battles, and I'm definitely not going to throw my finger up at the establishment when it has plenty
of ammo to shoot at me, I guess. You know what I mean? It's almost, I kind of liken it to a guy like some type of, I want to say, court jester, toying with the idea of pissing the king off. And you know what happens to the gesture when you're not funny and the king don't like you. It's that kind of thing. So it's like, I think Kyrie has a huge resistance to authority as it pertains to the NBA, and it's almost like he rejects it to such a way to where it makes it so that they have more ammunition to use against him in regards to keeping him from what he wants. And this is yet another one of those cringe type of moments where I just feel like he's really hurting himself. He's hurting him. He's not hurting the field. He's giving them more of a reason not to pay him. He's giving them more of a reason not to want him. He's giving them more of a reason to say he's coercing us into circumstances that look like we could get in trouble. And that's just not the way you want to approach free agency when you're in his shoes. Now, if you're somebody else, and this is why being aware of your own position and being cognizant and be able to absorb your own shoes and be in your own space, as opposed to thinking that you can do what other people can do when they're in different positions of power or in different positions that otherwise you should be in if people would just look at you the way that you would want to be looked at. But I do believe that this also contributes to why people don't look at Kyrie the way he wants to be looked at, because he does tend to do things that look like he's just trying to throw salt on the wound of his enemies, and as a result the enemies then throw salt on the wound of Kyrie. So it's just like, this is why these wars kind of go back and forth with certain people in the public eye, and it looks like they're really bullying these people hard as heck. And the middleman, so to speak, that often talk about the people behind the curtain, so to speak, often seem like they're picking on a certain person. But it to me, it seems like it's a war where the person is also poking unnecessarily at that establishment. And it's like, I do believe that there are entities in that should be poked at and questioned and maybe even regulated in regards to how they treat celebrities and how they treat some of these sports subjects. All of that needs to be evolved. But I do think that the sports subjects often find themselves in situations, TO-like situations, where they do a lot to help the anger that's coming against them from that entity. And when you do that, it's only but so much a person like myself can say to really defend you when you're not necessarily coming in a spirit of humble, ready to do what you need to do to stay professional. And that's really what we're doing here. You know what I mean? And so when we lose sight of what we're doing and what the goal is, or what it takes to get the goals within the arena you're in, you start putting on hats that don't fit the building you're in. You know what I mean? It's like walking onto a construction site. You need a hard hat, and he puts on a cowboy hat. It's like, nah, that's the wrong hat for what you're in, bro. You don't want to do that when you got this going on. Now, I know LeBron is your boy, and this is one of them situations where maybe my speculation gets way gone, but this is just how it looks. Because he views himself as an amazing player, like LeBron James, like Steph Curry. I think he wants to wield his power like LeBron James and like Steph Curry. It's like, well, I mean, that's what stars do. We go to situations, and it's almost like he's behaving like a star is supposed to behave, except for the fact that there's one big missing thing. And that is that trait that he has that makes life harder, I guess, or makes it so that they want to lash out to him, or makes it so that they want to attack him. However that works, he got that trait about him that makes it easy for them to poke at him. And that's not the greatest thing for business. You know what I'm saying? When they want to see you fail, that doesn't necessarily make it good to line up next to you as a friend. And that's what Kyrie's gonna have to understand. I think that's the next level of growth for Kyrie as an athlete, is to understand that when he's looking to align himself against those who he does in the way that he does it, by poking at them, saying, look, I can tamper if I want to, or look, I can have my boy pick me up from the airport when it looks a certain way, or let me tell the greatest player ever, arguably, that he could probably leave the LA Lakers to come to my team. It's just a lot of stuff. It's like, yo, bro, in your shoes, to benefit my circumstance, I'm going to take a different path on all of this. I'm taking a whole different path. And maybe you're gonna look at me and say I'm weak for doing that. But if my goal is to be in the NBA to represent my talent so that people will give me the money necessary to represent my talent and cover me in a way that represent my talent, I gotta stop doing stuff that gives them the ammo against it. And if I'm going to tell others that I don't want that energy, then I can't do stuff that also coerces me into that type of energy. You know, to say, don't talk about me going to other teams and then proceed to allow yourself to be seen in this way and allow this to go on, doesn't help. And while I can sit up here and say, these are lies, they're lying. They're piling on. But it's like, bro, even if they are piling on, you are at the airport with Phil Handy. So from that, they may be able to lie about this. You know what I'm saying? Just to say the story is completely false. Well, bro, that was manifested by the presence of you being in LA next to Phil Handy. They can't pull that out of their backside if not for something to attach to it that you allow and create. And so that's what it is for Kyrie. It's about that self-awareness, that self-discovery to say, for all of the things that I asked to receive, am I putting myself in a position to receive those things, or am I putting myself in a position to receive other things? And if so, am I happy with that? You know what I mean? Am I happy with that? Or is this not exactly what I'm looking for? And maybe the reaction I'm getting from the world is because I'm approaching the circumstance the wrong way, thinking I'm supposed to be getting a different result, and everybody else is aware of that. And so maybe that's what speculation is for me to kind of pan to you in regards to what I'm seeing there. You guys know I'm never looking at something surface. You guys know I'm always looking at different angles that others aren't looking at. And for me, this just looked like a situation where Kyrie Irving just kind of wanted to jab at the establishment, kind of create a little controversy. But it seems to me he also doesn't like that controversy. He wants us to know that he doesn't appreciate that controversy. So at some point he has to play in his own hands for what it is that he wants to see happen. So for me, it's just like, be aware of the presence of what could appear to be something that doesn't help self. You know what I'm saying? We got to learn, and I'm a person at 38 years old who's learned that sometimes the things that we're used to and the ways that we are often back us into consequences we don't want. And while we're so ready to fight, sometimes we don't realize that those defenses are up because of things that we did, and we wouldn't necessarily need to have those defenses on red if for some reason we just did things a little bit more so catered to what it is that helps us and our success, and not necessarily even acknowledge that there may be another entity in place that opposes us. To acknowledge that energy is to also play into his hands. To battle with that energy is to also get on his chessboard. And you put yourself in a position to lose that game. Even if you're willing to compete, that's not a game that you will always win. Especially when you're not in a position of power, especially when you're asking for something in representation of what it is you're bringing to the table. If you're looking for something, you got to give something. And that something may not be just enough based on what your standards are. There's someone on the other side of that table who's going to want you to bring something to the table. And if you can't match it, then you don't have an agreement. And so there's a disconnect there, I think, in regards to Kyrie Irving, because it's almost like he doesn't think they have a legitimate gripe when they say certain things. And like I said, some of those things are lies, but some of those things are not deniable based on the visuals that we see Kyrie do and the way that he approaches some of these conversations when he says some things that he wants to the camera. It's like, brother, you got to play in your own hands. Nobody's perfect. Certainly not myself. But we got to know where we hurt our cause. If you really want to play with LeBron James in Dallas, which I don't know that that's true, then the first thing I'm not going to do is be picked up in LA by Phil Handy, because that means that the visual is going to show the world that I want to go to the Lakers. That's all the visual is going to do. If you're trying to get LeBron to Dallas, Phil Handy don't even need to have nothing to do with that. He's not going to be leaving the Lakers to go to Dallas. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, Phil Handy knows better. He's an older guy. I expect him, as the OG, to protect himself, the organization, Kyrie, all that. And I'm going to tell my man Kyrie, I will see him when the Uber drops him off where we going to meet up. You feel me? I can't pick you up from the airport. I can't do that. That puts my organization in a weird spot. That puts my job in a weird spot. That puts your tenure being the player I want on the team next year in a possibility where that's further apart. So if I want that, that's not how I get it. So that's who I'm disappointed in that regard. I want Phil Handy to not let anybody coerce you into looking funny. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody in their moves coerce you into a space where the Lakers are looking at you saying, oh man, we need Phil Handy to be more responsible. We need Phil Handy to back us up more. Because Phil Handy is somebody I want in the organization for as long as he wants to be here. So anybody fire Phil Handy over tamping is going to be something that we don't like. You feel me? That's something that Laker Nation ain't going to like. But it is something that Phil Handy opens the door up when he puts himself in a position to pick up Kyrie Irving from the airport with all this not going on. So for me, it's just I don't feel like the rules are in place to make me joyous. You know what I'm saying? Basically, in regards to, I would love for Phil Handy to pick up Kyrie Irving and not be a problem. And in my world, that's exactly what it is, not a problem. But in the NBA world, it may be interpreted as something that could be a problem, and so we gotta respect the tampering rules and respect the visual that could come with people speculating or creating lies based on that visual, and not do it on damn purpose. Not do it on damn purpose. You know what I mean? And the variables in place that this is all the NBA, bigger than Kyrie, bigger than Phil Handy, bigger than anybody, bringing controversy to the league off season during a time where the ratings in the finals aren't that great. So I never rule out the NBA with a script saying, yo, this is what we want our subjects to do, and everybody's playing their role. And if that's the case, hopefully nobody gets any reprimands for anything that they do in the offseason, whether it looks like tampering or not, because it's just a big old elaborate commercial for the league. So that is very much here. That is always here. But even more so, it's also the idea that people are just doing certain things because they're not necessarily aware of how to get what they want. Maybe they're not in the details of team building, so they won't really know what's possible. And I think that's a mistake I've seen a lot of players that I expect to be like so in tune with these things to make. You know what I mean? Some like unrealistic trade demands, unrealistic trade requests. Have this guy come to me. You know, it's a lot of stuff that can be done if you get like third and fourth teams involved, of course. But like just in general, just like I want to go there, bring him to me. Sometimes it seems to me that some of the players aren't aware of what may not necessarily be possible. And with so many people around them that should help them with that, I don't know why that would be the case, but it seems that way. But LeBron to Dallas is not going to work unless LeBron demands a way to Dallas, and then we find somebody who would be willing to take the stuff that Dallas is going to give us in salary, so that we could have a team that we would prefer. I think we'd probably love to have Tim Hardaway Jr., but some of the other salary matches don't work. We probably want Jaden Hardy on a smaller contract just to throw in. We probably want Josh Green to throw in. We're going to want that number 10 pick as a throw in. Of course, everything they got, not named Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving would be on the move to LA. The problem is a lot of that stuff is not for the Lakers. It's not good. That's the problem with Dallas. The roster's not good. So I think it's a solution for the Dallas Mavericks if you just want to talk about their side of the story. Of course, you bring LeBron James to yourself. It pulls their problems into a space where they don't have as many problems. The problem is, that's all you really got. This is another reason why I say, Kyrie's saying, let's get these big three going. But we talk about on this channel a lot. And I've heard some of the Laker Nation guys say it as well. They second the same opinion that I have on their channel. Building with the 3-star model is not going to work anymore in this league. You can try it, but your bench is going to need to be full of, Miami Heat like guys who can play on $1 million contract and still fill the roles for it. And to do that, you need to already have certain things in place. And one of the reasons why the Miami Heat have all of this working is because those players have been in place for many years together. In this case, they'd be putting this together for the first time, and they'd be pulling stuff together that probably ain't that good. So this is why Brooklyn didn't work. This is why the Clippers has issues as well working. This is why Phoenix probably ain't gonna work till they get rid of Chris Paul or Ayton. The 3-star model is difficult to build properly in this league, and they've made it that way. That's what I think everybody is going to have to really absorb. It's not that it doesn't work in a nutshell. Of course it works in a nutshell. Hell yeah, you can get 3 stars together and kill the league. The problem is, because the league knew that, they made it so that technically, on the numbers, if you try to do that, it's going to leave your team garbage. And so this is what everybody's going to have to believe from here on out. Whether they believe in putting 3 stars together is to kill the field or not, you got to understand that 82 games plus playoffs with 3 bodies eating up a third of the cap means that the rest of the team is going to be asked to do some of the stuff that they likely will not be able to accomplish with their talent. They just like, you got to do this, 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 and this, and guys like, I'll try, and then they'll fail. And so it's like, that's what you run into when you build with 3 stars, and that's what I would tell Kyrie Irving directly. Like, brother, if you want LeBron James and Luka Doncic and yourself to be on the same team, the best thing for all 3 of y'all to do is to shave money in this collective bargaining agreement so that your teammates can be up to par, so that you can get through the playoffs. If you don't have those pieces, you're asking your 3 to do too much, and as a result, you're probably not going to make it through the season, and as a result, you're going to have some schematic disadvantages on the basketball court. And that is something that I know Kyrie knows. So it gets really, really interesting to see how the vision goes when players request this. You know what I mean? Because I don't know that everybody is ready to embrace what it is that they cannot do. And this is where this speculation comes in. It's like, are we all aware of what it is that we are able to do from within our shoes? Because this is where stars get in trouble. Yes, you are a God-level player who plays basketball probably better than most of the humans that God has ever created. The problem is the sport of basketball needs for you to be at a certain height and a certain weight to go up against certain players in this league where everybody is at a crazy level and everybody is tall by design. The sport can be played with short people, but it's tall by design in this league. So if you're going to put yourself in a position to only be like 6'3", and you want to take a third of the cap, and the next guy is not able to do a bunch of stuff like a big person, and the next guy, it just becomes a situation where you still need what the others would bring to the table that you can't afford because you're taking up so much of the cap with the 3 that you have. So Kyrie's going to have to be honest with himself and say, I can't represent rim protection. I'm not going to be able to rebound with the big boys. I'm not going to be able to stop anybody from doing certain things with my size. And so because of that, we have to be able to make sure that those pieces are in place, and it's going to be very difficult for my GM to do that if we put together 3 players and none of them do those things. And so that's what it is. Like, you just went through this with Brooklyn. You know, the reason it failed is because you didn't have enough talent around your big 3. And that would be the exact same thing that you're asking the Dallas Mavericks to do, is put not enough around you, LeBron, and Luka, by asking y'all to come together. So that's what it is, man. I want that to be understood. If the NBA would allow for it to happen to where you could make it happen without having your team be depleted of real talent, then of course every team wants 3 stars. And you probably have a couple teams that would push it to 4. But this ain't that. The NBA wants you to have 2 max contracts on your tabs and the rest of your stuff to be mid-level, and then from there, development of players. They are pushing the development of young talent. They are getting an influx of high-level athletes. They need to learn how to play the game. You can't have them sitting on the back of these benches while the same superstars that have been running around for 15 years are still running the show. It doesn't work. When those superstars leave, you have a bunch of young players that are running around, don't know what the hell they're doing, and that is what the NBA is trying to avoid. And this is what I inherently understand as I follow the league. So when guys like Kyrie Irving are asking to team up with LeBron James and Luka Doncic, they got to understand what the goal of these individual teams are based on what the influx of talent is coming in over the next 15, 10 years, whatever. You cannot be too far behind the 8 ball if you want to compete with these teams, especially since the NBA is talking about expansion. You're going to be even further back. So it's like the Clippers and these teams, Dallas and all these teams that are doing it wrong in 2023, it's going to reflect poorly on them in 2027 if they don't get their act together and stop doing this the wrong way. So when I look at a guy like Kyrie, who only has a couple years left to his career, and he wants to play with this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, he needs to know why I believe that doesn't make much sense for the betterment of the franchises that he may be a part of when he asked them to do this. This is why. This is what I see when guys tell me they want to come with 3 guys and do it for a couple seasons. It's like, nah, bro, you're going to tank my franchise with this ring-chasing process. We're going to be behind the 8 ball where all the Wembanyamas and all the Scoot Hendersons and all the Millers and all the Cam Whitmores go to other places, while we're still trying to figure out how to make this work with these same 3 dudes that have been running these 82-game schedules for several years in a row. We just got to We got to respect the mileage on the legs. We got to respect the height differences of various things schematically on the floor. And we got to respect the elements of basketball that are needed that the NBA has purposefully put us in a position to not have if we build with too many stars. So I hope this video gets to where it needs to go so that everybody, once and for all, can understand not only what they need to do going forward, but to reflect on why certain situations didn't work. Certain scenarios the teams and players was trying to put together in this league didn't lead to them winning. You got to know why it didn't work, man. It wasn't because you guys couldn't play. It's because the NBA schematically made it so that you couldn't build that way. You could not build that way without failing. It's a poison pill, man. They can do that. That's what people need to understand. They can technically make it so that you aren't able to compete even if you are good enough, bro. That's why tanking is something that actually happens. Because there are ways to fail on purpose while having a lot of talent. And so, like, this is another thing these teams need to understand, bro. And these players rather need to understand. It's like it's a lot of agendas going on, bro. It ain't as simple as you running the league. And I gotta say this, even though it doesn't make my spirit feel really good to say this, I truly believe this as I pay attention. The guise of the players running the league is just that. It's a guise. They don't actually run the league. You know what I mean? And this is what it is. We were in an era where owners were allowing players to make decisions as it pertains to team building. But there were things within the science of team building that often the players were not privy to. So even if you wanted to, but allow them the ability to make the moves for the team, once they allowed the players to do that, it started botching up the teams. It started making the GM's job significantly more difficult within the margins. And that matters a lot. And teams have been failing and tanking and losing assets and just find themselves in years and years and years of ineptitude, not because the talent couldn't deliver like the media told you, but because within the margin they couldn't put together a team that could actually compete in the league. Overpaying this young guy who can't do nothing for him, underpaying that guy and letting him walk right before he turned into something. These different types of things that NBA teams do, sometimes trying to make players happy, doesn't fit within what they're trying to do cap-wise, long term. And so as the seasons progress, you start to see long-term play out in real time for some of these teams that have made that mistake. And as a result, they're in positions trying to scramble around, trying to do all kinds of stuff to get other players off of other teams, cope with the fact they ain't going to be no good without their picks this year. That kind of stuff is like, it comes from allowing the players to not be privy of what they need to know while still having the privilege of dictating terms. So that had to stop. But the problem was you didn't want the players to think that it had stopped. It was one of them type of situations where you still want to keep them players feeling like they got power, but you're learning in real time that them dudes don't know what the hell they're doing when it's time to move teams around, but will damn sure be unhappy when the situation fails. So this is what the NBA has run into. It's like, if the players aren't going to learn how to be GMs and learn what's possible, what's actually possible, then they can't have the power that they demand, even if it makes sense for the owners to kind of bestow it upon them so that they can keep those players in-house. If I let Luka Doncic make all the roster moves and he ain't sat down with a GM longer than 5 minutes in his career, he going to botch the team with intentions of making the team great. It just is what it is. He don't know what he's doing. And so that's what it really comes down to. Players got to know that they don't know if they don't know. And if you're a GM mind, then there's more to learn. There's more to learn, you know what I'm saying? But you can't just say, I'm great, Bron State, great, Luka's great, bring us together, and we can win the chip. In a different league where they didn't set it up like this, for sure. In a league where they made damn sure you couldn't do it this way, hell no. BDF44, I thank you all for watching.